fast and easy loan approval process.
Let Florida Credit Union start up a new car loan for you today. No more waiting, hassles, or stop signs. You can even apply online. With a strong financial team behind you, you can enjoy great rates and fast approvals.
It's all about personalized service and a streamlined process.
Florida Credit Union, connecting your money to your life.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Friday morning. I'm going to take you down my memory lane a little bit. When I was much younger, I would go into record stores and I would stare at the album covers. I would read every word on an album cover. And if there was a song I really, really liked, I would look for that song. And if I had enough money, maybe I would buy the single. I usually didn't have enough money for an album. And I remember a couple of examples that will lead to this next interview. I'm so looking forward to this interview, and you'll see why in a second. When Peter, Paul, and Mary did "Leaving on a Jet Plane," right? I thought that was the greatest song at that time, right? I go and I find them on their album, and I see the songwriter is a guy named John Denver. No, never knew who John Denver was, right? So suddenly I said, well, does he have any records? Yes, he does, right? Same thing in the 70s. There was a lady named Carol Bayer Sager. Mm-hmm. And her name was showing up on songs like, oh gosh, who was the guy I like, Robin? Little guy with curly hair.
Oh, Leo Sayer.
Leo Sayer, thank you.
You're welcome.
Leo Sayer had the song, When I Need You, something like that, right?
Yes.
And then I looked at his credits too, and it wasn't he who wrote it. It was Carol Bayer Sager and somebody else. I don't remember who the other person was. And so I have always loved singers who write their songs, singer-songwriters. Mm-hmm. Right? Always. It's just always been a thing for me. My most recent one is Sia, who happens to be from Australia. And our next guest is also not only from, but in Australia. Christine M. Knight is my new love.
Yes.
I went to her website. I'll tell you what it is in a second. She is a singer-songwriter, but more than that, she's also an author. Sounds like she writes about things she loves, by the way. She's a teacher, a public speaker. She's married to an officer in the Australian Royal Air Force. So, sir, when I say I'm in love with your wife, I mean the music that she makes.
There you go.
And her talent. Songbird is the title of one of her books. There's another one called Life Song. And okay, now, see, I had a little chance to say hello and everything off the air. Now I get to really talk to her. Good morning, Christine. How are you?
And good day to you, Larry, and good day to listeners.
Good day.
Hello, Rob.
You're in Australia right now?
Yes, I am. I'm living in a place 800 metres above sea level in a place called Womboing, which is about 30 minutes north of our bush capital, the national capital.
Why is so much great music come out of Australia? Why is Australia a great place for music?
I think it goes back to our origins. We had, in our very, very early days, which many of your listeners will be aware, Australia was a convict settlement.
I know.
And there were a lot of political Irish convicts sent out, as well as very, very poor people who had committed various crimes for a variety of reasons. But we have a strong Irish Celtic roots to our music. And we've got a diverse culture of we're very much a multicultural society, and all those multicultural influences have created a unique sound.
So you are a singer-songwriter as well. You have do you record under Christine Knight or a different name?
I mostly compose now, and I now have people. I have musicians who are trying to make it through that very, very hard ceiling that's difficult to break through. And I've had, for instance, Dagny from the UK and Film and Funi from Thailand, two wonderful singers. Film is part of Pavira, a pop-up for a group in Thailand, and Thuni is from a girl sort of group, I guess. They're a cappella group.
Ah, okay, okay.
So basically, I don't sing very much anymore, but I write a lot, and I use all my knowledge of music and performance from past years, and all the many musicians I've mixed with in the past have formed an important part of my research for my writing.
Wow. I'm looking forward to digging deeper. So what time is it right now where you are, and what's the temperature like?
It's 1:40 a.m. and it's about 30 degrees Celsius, which I think is up in the high 90s.
It's hot. It's hot there.
Oh, yeah.
It's summertime in Australia.
Summer here.
It's in the middle of the morning. So you're staying up unusually late, right?
Yes, that's right, yes.
Oh, my goodness. Where's your husband right now?
Not really. An hour or so
He's
later
sleeping.
than I normally do. I tend to be a night owl, but that's because of the lifestyle I've lived in the past.
So I have a songwriting question for you, and a writing question in general. When you write a novel, and I want to make sure the listeners hear about the novel, but my question is about the writing process. A song has to tell a story in very few words. A book you can take your time telling the story. Was that a difficult transition for you, or did it come naturally?
No, it came naturally, because the sort of songs I write have a narrative, have a story, and there's a character who's speaking, whose view I'm representing in song, and usually in songs there's some sort of conflict that the character is either dealing with or has worked through or is in the process of triumphing over or is determined to, or they're making or it may be an internal conflict and they're making a commitment to take control of their life or not be defeated, or maybe there are a whole range of songs. But basically there's a character, there's conflict, and there's a motivation, something they want to achieve, and on a very small scale, that is basically what writing a novel is about. Except you've got a lot more characters, and the panorama that you're writing about is much bigger.
So, have you ever written a book or a story that a song would work well? Like if the book was made into a movie, if Songbird is made into a movie, and we need to talk about Songbird, but is there a song that will be in the movie that you've written already?
Oh, yes. I've written Take It Off, which is a song where my fictional, where Nikki Mills, who's by Songbird, she's become a gold record recording international singing sensation. And she meets a major rock star, Rick Brody, who's been at the top of his game for 16 years, but his music has lost whatever it was that resonated with his audiences. His music's lacking heart.
That's what happens. That's what happens. That's what happens to everybody, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And so he collaborates with my central character, Nikki Mills, and they write a couple of songs together. And they write a number of songs together, and one of them is Take It Off.
And he wants her to take it off. Is that what it's about?
No, the song is about the masks people wear.
Oh, okay. Because
it is suggestive of getting down together on one level, but my two characters wrote it deliberately that way. But it's about before you can have a meaningful relationship, you need to let go of the masks that we wear. You know, children are very much who and what they are, but as we grow up in life, we learn to wear masks. And the song is about, and very much because Nikki and Rick Brody are both in that industry where they have to develop public personas, and it's all very much, they're always guarding their image and protecting and who they are, and they've learned not to reveal who they are. So the song, where Nikki convinces Rick that it's important to go back to being honest in his music and talking about something that might resonate with people. And in life everyone wears a mask outside their home. We present a public persona.
How much older is he than she?
Rick Brody became a star when he was 20, and so Nikki was a struggling single parent, and who'd basically given up all hope of anything other than a struggling life. And then she had an unusual opportunity of getting back into music. And at first she was just going to be, she just planned to have extra money on the side in the small arena.
Right,
but
right.
she is a phenomenal talent.
But he's
broke through.
Are these real people, or this is a novel?
No.
Okay.
No, this is novel, but to me they're real people.
Okay, gotcha.
I've lived with them for a number of years.
I can tell that they're real to you. Yeah.
It seems though like you've had your ups and downs in life also, and you've had to overcome obstacles yourself.
Yes. I think that's par for the course for anyone, really. Sometimes they're really huge things that you've got to deal with, and there's a writer, Kahlil Gibran. He wrote a book called The Prophet, and what I loved, he has an image in it that has always really helped me through the most difficult of times, and he says we're all born lumps of wood, and life.
I know I was.
And he says life is a scouring process, and the pains and difficulties we suffer are the knives, but we were all meant to be flutes and to make the most beautiful music. And because I'm a musician, among other things, that idea appealed to me. And of course, every pain we suffer is part of the scouring process that makes us a more magnificent flute, capable of playing music that will just speak to the souls of others. So it's always helped me in the hardest times.
So when you're writing a song, and I'm going to ask a song and book question here. When you're writing a song, the melody part of it anyway has to somehow resonate with you before you realize this is where you want to go. What is it about a book that resonates with you that tells you you're on track?
That's a very interesting question, and you often write, like you do an awful lot of extra writing. For a 100,000 word book, I would do 50,000 words more in and planning, and I basically, as you're going into like a Songbird, which is a standalone book, but it follows Life Song. I literally wrote the 100,000 words, and it was right. I didn't have to do any more because it was following on work I'd already done. But you do a lot of extra writing, and then when you're reading it, you think, no, that's not where I want to go. You think, no, I wrote that for me, but that's not relevant to the story.
Yes.
Because you've got to keep your reader thinking, what's going to happen next.
Well, what's going to happen next is we have to play a commercial, okay? So we've got to take a little break, and we'll be right back. And not that I want to do this. I'm looking at your website, by the way. It's Christine M, as in Mary, Knight, ChristineMKnight.com.au, as in Australia. Okay?
Yes.
And I'll mention it again at the end. We'll take a little break and be right back.
All right, thank you.
Weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Sunshine, breezy, and chilly today. Highs in the mid-50s. Mainly clear, cold tonight. Overnight, though, 33 and then 45 along the coast with a shower in spots along the coast late tonight. But tomorrow, clouds will limit sunshine. It'll become warmer. There may be shower in spots, though, along the coast with highs between 71 and 75. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Good credits, bad credits. It's none of our business because we're not an auto dealer. We're not a bank. We're not your mother. We're OcalaForSale.com. Marion County's marketplace for cars, trucks, and SUVs. We've got thousands of sellers standing by to take your call. No middleman. But hurry, don't walk, don't run. Just sit down and log on to OcalaForSale.com. Prices and inventory change daily. Offer does not include dealer upcharge. Undercutting, rust-proofing, factory surcharge, or delivery fee. See website for details.
All right, 12 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Our phone line is connected to Australia. The lines are hot right now between here and Australia. Christine Knight is on the phone in the middle of the night, which M stands for middle. Middle of the Christine, middle of the
and marvelous, I must tell you, and marvelous,
and marvelous, which is Mavis
and not modest.
Mavis Mills, right? Is the character? Well,
yes. She began as Mavis Mills.
Mavis. Sorry, I pronounced it wrong. Gosh, what I wanted to ask you about.
You said it right because you said it the way because Mavis, the name comes from the bird Marvis, like you said, and Marvis is the songbird of spring, and John Keats wrote poetry about.
Oh, really?
With the voice.
How do you pronounce? Can I ask you a question unrelated to anything else? How do you pronounce in Australia the word for the vehicle you drive in? What is that thing called?
The car.
The car. The
There
car.
you go.
Yeah.
You're right.
We call it.
Or the automobile. Which one did you want?
No, car is good. Now, what did you call the horse and carriage? What did you call that? A horse and carriage?
A horse and carriage.
Carriage.
Yeah.
See?
We're very,
That's right.
So the people in Massachusetts here in America are the only English-speaking people in the whole world who pronounce the word car correctly. It should be car.
That's right.
Because it's from a carriage. Just thought I'd tell you that. All right. You know what I want to tell you? Robin and I, we work with an organization that helps children with facial, craniofacial things. And Cher is the official spokesman of this group. We don't know Cher, but there was something we were alerted to that she was very protective about her fame. She doesn't want people to take pictures of her or whatever unless she's ready for it and all that. And is that part of this story too? It's kind of, you know, we don't have a right as a public to everything about you as a celebrity, correct?
No, yes, and I think that's largely because you've got to realise, most people don't really think about the journey that people take before they become celebrities. When they set out, they have a talent or an ability or a skill, and they have a goal, something they want to achieve. And they set out to achieve that. Very few people, apart from people on reality shows, say, I want to become a celebrity. People who we now think of as stars and as celebrities actually start off pursuing, money, but also realising their talent, realising their dreams. And, celebrities aren't just in the music and film industry. They're in IT, they're in all walks of life.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
The celebrity status is a byproduct, and it's something of their success. It's mostly not the goal, and it's something they have to learn to deal with. But they have a brand that they're projecting, but they haven't sold themselves. They're selling their music or their stories or their acting ability, and in actual fact, for their privacy is really important. And if you think of, for me, once I know too much about an actor, for instance, in their life, I can know that it's actually really bad that I know so much about their private life, because when I see major stars on the screen and I know so much about their private life, I can no longer enter into that fictional reality on the screen. I can no longer
good point.
It's
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And that then jeopardizes their career. How can they continue to play parts and get us to believe in the characters they portray if we can't forget who they are?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's puts at risk their career, and of course, any musician who wants to protect they chose that path. Their family and children didn't, and it's very, 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 very hard to protect the fabric of your family and life.
You know who comes to mind is Linda McCartney, because I mean, Paul McCartney obviously wanted fame.
Yeah.
But Linda probably didn't, and she handled what she had really well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seemed like it.
Yes, and by the time Paul McCartney had met Linda, he had gone through the whole, Beatlemania, then into the next stage, and they'd sort of gone to India and done all their spiritual search. When they had everything, hard to believe when most people are struggling and trying to make ends meet and pay bills and pay utilities and save for their children's education. To us, money's often, we know it's not, doesn't make happiness, but it sure removes a lot of stresses.
Right, it does.
Right.
But what Paul McCartney and the Beatles discovered is it was in itself not enough. The material life in itself was not enough. And so remember Linda and Paul actually went to a very rural living up in the Highlands of Scotland. Islands, and they really went back to a simple life. And they brought their children up away in sort of country rural areas to protect their children from and their families from, the intrusion.
Yes.
By media.
But then there are some of the celebrities who are abusers. I mean, Justin Bieber just takes things to the extreme, and he feels like he can do that because all will be forgiven because of his fame and fortune.
Yes, and unfortunately, there's a lot of evidence, isn't there, over the many, many years of stars and celebrities who make it when they're young, before their values are well and truly formed, and who are, there's so much adulation and so much admiration, and even when I was in a band and touring, groupies throw themselves at you. It's very easy for someone to become corrupted. Well, not corrupted. But
any good stories you can share?
I see life as like we have a compass in life, and like my song "Road to True North" is about having your compass. But there are lots of false norths, and for celebrities, for people when they get onto that path of fame and fortune and all that adulation. It's easy to lose your sense of your compass. Can easily get a false magnetic pull, and you can go off course, and sometimes with really terrible, disastrous results that ultimately interferes with the very thing that you love and want to do.
Do you know, I was in New York when John Lennon was still alive, and I went to his house to see if I could see him. And I was standing outside with a friend, and there was a girl there who was there all the time. She told us she was there all the time. But she was the only other person there, and she knew that he'd come out. She told us all this stuff, and then he came out, and he got a cab, and him and Yoko got in the cab and drove away. And then I said, okay, well, that's good. I'm going to leave now. And she said, no, he'll be back. I said, well, he doesn't owe me anything. I just thought it would be cool to see him, But I think a lot of people, it's like if you know where somebody lives, you can stalk them so easy.
Yeah.
And he was very, very approachable, I guess, which is how he ended up getting killed, right?
Yeah. Poor man.
So Christine Knight is our guest. Do celebrities have a right to privacy? Of course they do. That's what my notes are here. It says, do they have a right to privacy? The book is called...
But I think, there's this myth being sold that once you are out there, once you have a public persona, once you are, especially when you choose to share aspects of your life, that somehow you're forfeiting your complete right to privacy. And there are elements of the media that argue that once you're famous, hey, you're a commodity, and that they've got a right to make money off you. And celebrities in some fields do need the media. It's just as the media need people to write stories about, newsworthy stories and other stories, sort of entertainment feature stories. But a healthy relationship between celebrities and media is a symbiotic one where everyone benefits. But at its worst, it becomes a parasitic relationship where one feeds off the other to the other's detriment. And increasingly, I don't know what's happened in the last 15, 20 years, but maybe it was happening before, but maybe I wasn't old enough to remember that. Increasingly, we see this view of the intrusion. When there's been a loss in the family, when someone's died, I'm sure all your listeners can think of times when the cameras have zoomed in to capture that exquisite moment of someone suffering and pain. That's extremely bad for us. I think celebrities in those instances do have a right to privacy. It's because the right to privacy goes beyond them. It goes to us as a society.
Yeah.
If we want to sustain a civilized society, we have to consider not just the people who are either suffering or, in a case of someone who's behaving badly, like the example you gave, but we have to look at the impact of that poor behaviour on the people who are witness to that behaviour. And now with social media and the instantaneous nature of the way things can go viral around the world, the impact of someone's poor behaviour is so much greater.
Yeah.
And just because someone is rude, crude and uncivilized and acts out in social media or in other public forums because they think they're a star or they think they're special and above the rules that govern behaviour, they're not. And I think every time the non-social media pick up and play out moments of bad behaviour, there's a value in everything we do and say. I've sort of done a detour, but it's relevant. There's a value in everything we do and say, and there's a value in what we don't do. Every time the media give a lot of attention to bad behavior, in a way, it's like a child having a temper tantrum. You're feeding that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've thought that many times. Christine, we're just about out of time. I want the audience to know that the book is called Songbird. The other book you have is called Life Song. And all of Christine's information and how to get the books is on her website, which is Christine M. Knight, KNIGHT.com.au as in Australia. And is the book also on Amazon, etc.?
Yes, it's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, ebook and paper book.
All right.
Available anywhere in the world.
Do you go to bed now, or do you have another interview?
Oh, no, I'm going to bed now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, good night.
So
Good night.
Thank you very much. It's been lovely chatting. Good night.
That was
Good night.
great. That was great. I hope you come. I hope you come back.
Oh, I would love to. Bye.
Thank you, Christine. All right, we'll be right back. Well, this is WOCA.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. Record lows and gusty winds, the wintry story in much of the Northeast. With the recent snow buildup in New England, snow on the roof is a problem.
It's like a frozen cake that's been in the freezer for a year.
And the cold stretching into the Midwest and South.
We're looking at single-digit temperatures all the way down to Raleigh, North Carolina. You're currently in the teens in Atlanta and below zero in Cincinnati and also in Buffalo.
Fox meteorologist Maria Molina. Air Force General and NATO Commander Philip Breedlove says the ceasefire in Ukraine hasn't been working.
I would tell you I don't think the ceasefire ever began.
The truce, which came into effect Sunday, was followed by a halt to fighting in some areas, but also saw the rebels seize another key town.
Fox Radio's Simon Owen. A government panel is recommending